Hi, I'm Kim Perillo with Smart, and I am here to give you a tutorial on how to use the Smart Learning Suite Google app for distance learning. Smart Learning Suite is a lesson delivery software that includes formative assessment pieces, student collaboration, and game-based learning. And it basically has two parts to it. It has the desktop version, as you may know and heard of Smart Notebook. But what we're going to focus on today is the Smart Learning Suite Online feature that actually integrates really nicely with Google. I'm going to do another tutorial later in the future to show you how it integrates with Microsoft. With that being said, I'm going to focus primarily on a student-paced assignment in part one here. Part two, if you want to watch the next video, we're going to focus on live teacher-facilitated lessons. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Google Drive and we're going to access the Smart Learning Suite app. And then we're going to look at how you would use that app for asynchronous learning in a student-paced environment. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to Google Drive. Before I get there though, mention one thing. We want to make sure that within your district's domain, that your domain administrator for Google has turned on the Smart Learning Suite app within the G Suite Marketplace for your district's domain. So that's the first thing I want to mention. And the app is represented by this like blue, purple, and green ball. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my drive. Once I'm in my Google Drive, I'm going to go to New, and then I'll scroll down to More, and then I will see the connected app Smart Learning Suite. Now there's another way to get to it. You could get to it through your waffle, but we'll go ahead and use it from here. So once I open that up, that will open up the app, and that's when I can access Smart Learning Suite online. So once it loads, you're going to see a menu that allows for you to import existing content in order to add any one of these various items to that content. The supported content or supported applications are Smart Notebook, PowerPoints, PDFs, and all G Suite files except for forms. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right away. So I'm going to go ahead and import a resource, and I'm going to import from Google Drive. And what I'm looking for is a PDF document. So I'm going to use this landmarks file here. Once it loads here, I'm going to be in editing mode. And this is where I can set up the lesson for asynchronous learning, meaning that I can share this lesson out with students to access it at any time. So I'm going to go ahead. The first thing I'm going to do is edit the title of my lesson. So I'm going to call this Famous Landmarks. Now, because I'm in editing mode, you can see that you have a couple commands. No matter what page you move to, you're going to have these same commands at the top and at the bottom. So I have my mouse, I have my text tool, which allows me to write text on a page. Let's move that over so you can see that I just wrote some text. You also have a tool that allows for you to add upload images. You can add web links, and then of course, if you don't have an image already saved, you can search for those online. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this guy though. And you also down here at the bottom have the option to convert your pages to an individual handout activity. So we're gonna use that here shortly. And then of course you have a delete option in the bottom right-hand corner. So my first two pages are read-only. So you have a title, you have lesson objectives, and on page 3, you have the content. So what is a landmark? Now, the intent here is for my students to read this sentence and identify a landmark in this page so they can talk, so they can see the significance of what a landmark means. So in order to do that, I would like for them to actually be able to mark up this page, meaning I want them to have a toolbar that allows for them to either highlight important keywords, or maybe they want to ink on something, circle something, or if they just want to use the text tool, they can. So I'm going to convert this page to an individual handout activity. And that allows for me to give the students access to those tools that I just mentioned. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Before I move forward in this file, I'm going to add some supplemental material. So I'm going to click on the little plus symbol, and I'm going to go back now to my Smart Learning Suite app menu. So I'm going to click on YouTube. I'm going to do a search for landmarks. And I want to add some YouTube content so my students can then gain some prior knowledge before we move on in the lesson. So I'm going to click on this first one, and I'm going to click on add. So now you can see how quickly content was added in between my two pages here in this PDF document. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of reorder some of these pages. So now that my students watch that video, I'm going to go to page 5 here, and this is where I'm going to ask them to match the famous landmarks with the correct name. So there's actually a task they need to complete, but in order to complete that task, I need to convert this to an individual handout activity. And again, that will allow for the students to have access to a toolbar at their disposal, and they will be able to turn in that assignment to me, or tell the teacher rather that they are done with that task. And I'll show you how that's done in just a moment. So the next thing I'm going to do is go back to the plus symbol, and I'm going to add a game-based activity. Now, the purpose of this is so the students then can essentially go through a game-based learning activity, and they can go through any of these. And you can click on the little preview window to see like what these games do. But I already know I'm going to add a match 'em up activity. And the purpose is I want my students to kind of test their knowledge on matching famous landmarks with their location. And again, they've already seen the video, and so they gained the knowledge there. So I'm going to add a couple terms here. I'm going to add Taj Mahal. Let's do Stonehenge. And then let's do Space Needle. So oops. And then we're going to do India. We have to do the correct answers here. England. And then let's do Seattle. Now keep in mind, if you are working with pre-literate students, you can always add images in as your answer options. And then how do we want the answers to be checked? Instantly or when prompted. So I'm going to keep it at instantly. So I'll go ahead and hit next. And then that's when you decide on a theme. So I really like the superheroes theme in this context. So I'm going to go ahead and hit finish. Okay, so now let's say I'm done with my lesson for asynchronous learning. So now I'm going to click on finish editing. And what I'm able to do now is I'm able to actually deliver this lesson. Keep in mind, everything I just did is automatically saved back in my Google Drive. Okay, so that's really, really nice. Now, a couple things about the menu here. In the hamburger menu, the 3 lines, this is where you can go back to edit your lesson if you need to. This is also where you can access shareable links that can be copied and be handed out through various LMSs. So you could use Google Classroom, you could use Canvas, you can use Schoology, Edmodo, any of those. And that's how you could share a copy to your students as well outside of class. And then one more thing here is you can make a copy of this lesson. If you teach the same content to multiple groups or bells of students, periods of students, you can make a copy, as many copies as you need, and those will automatically get saved back in your Google Drive, okay? But when I'm ready to teach, I'm gonna go to my little outline of the 2 people here. And this is where I can do a couple things. I can decide the lesson pacing, if it's going to go teacher paced or student paced. And then I can also share my lesson with my students through this, hellosmart.com. So that's actually how the students will be joining. So let's go to an incognito window, and I'm going to show you that I'm going to log in as a student. So I'm going to go to hellosmart.com, and now I can join. Typically, you would have your students sign in with their either Google or Microsoft credentials. But if you're in a situation like me, where I don't have Google or Microsoft credentials because I'm not a student, I'm going to join as a guest. So my join code was 41817, and I'm going to enter in my name. Okay, so now once this loads, I should be able to see that lesson that I have opened up in Smart Learning Suite Online, and I do, so there we go. Now, because it is in teacher pace mode, I don't have any controls on what I can do here. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch that over to student paced. Okay, and then I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So now that I'm in student pace mode, it says I can go to any page in this lesson. So I'm gonna say, okay. So now I can move to page 2, and then I can move on to page 3. And that's where I have that individual handout. So I'm gonna hit start. And now you can see those tools that I was mentioning earlier. Here are the inking tools, and I've got a highlighter. So inking tools, I could, maybe circle something. That highlighter allows for me to change the width of the highlighter, and I could, mark up or highlight something. I also have an eraser. So if I wanted to erase something, I could. I can add images here and web links. And then of course, my favorite tool is really the text tool, because that allows for me to take notes on a page. Now, if I had a task to complete right here, if I had some sort of directions to follow, and I wanted to tell my teacher that I've completed that task, I have the option to click on Done in the upper right-hand corner. Now, from the teacher point of view, this is actually what the teacher will see. So as a teacher, I'm going to go down to page 3. I'm going to click on Student Progress, and now I can see that Kim marked done, because there's a little green and white arrow here, and I could click on her name there, and I can see all of the changes that they made to that page. And this really provides a really nice opportunity for me to provide feedback to the student. So maybe I use my text tool and I might say, great job, or whatever it is, whatever that feedback is. And then as the student, I see the teacher's edits right there on my page. So, which is really, again, really nice. So I'm going to go on to page 4, and I can always play my YouTube content. I won't really, but we'll pretend. And then I'll go on to page 5, and I'll start that activity. And then this is where I did have a task to complete. And this is where I would have to match the famous landmarks with the correct name. So maybe I use a red pen, and I'm going to say that's the Grand Canyon. We've got the Statue of Liberty, and so forth. And again, don't forget to mark done. And then I'll go back. I'm sorry, let's move forward here instead of back. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to that game-based learning activity, the match them up activity. So I can hit start, and I can start playing the game. I'll move my matches to the backs of the superheroes here, and I can see if I get feedback. Oh, nope, that one was wrong. Okay, that got bounced away. And now let's try that again. So I'm pretty sure that's England. So let's see if we're correct. Yep, so we've got some feedback there. And again, I can just keep playing. Now, minute I want to reset this, all I have to do is click on the reset arrow here, and the game can start again. Okay, so that is essentially how that would work. And remember, that would all live back in the teacher's Google Drive. So you'll see once I refresh this page here that I've got the landmarks file right here. If I wanted to reopen that, I can right click on it and open with Smart Learning Suite. There we go. I also can assign this through my Google Drive. So if I wanted to, let's exit out of there. Let's say, or I'm sorry, assign it through Google Classroom rather. If I wanted to go to Classroom, I've got a fake class here, the US History class. And all I have to do is go to Classwork, create an assignment right here. And then I can make my titles. Maybe I call this Landmarks. And then I'm going to hit Add, click on Google Drive, and then you'll see the attachment right there. So there it is. I'll go ahead and hit Add. I'll add my instructions, of course, and then I'll go ahead and share that or assign that up here in the upper right-hand corner to my class. So again, it's pretty seamless. It's pretty easy to do. Let's go back and make sure that we covered everything. Smart Learning Suite for distance learning. I just showed you a student-paced assignment for part 1. Now part 2, feel free to watch again, and we'll see how that lesson can be used for live teacher facilitated synchronous lessons. Okay, thank you very much.